Call the council meeting to order. Clerk will call the roll.
Susan Hady.
Here.
Dick Marshke.
Here.
Jim Bansma.
Here.
Forrest Fromme.
Here.
Don Miller.
Present.
Buzz Vanderhyde.
Here. Please stand, face our flag, and repeat the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Christine Stone,
Yes.
the floor is all yours.
All right, well, thank you. Nice to be here today. My name is Christine Snow, and I'm running for Dodge County Circuit Court Judge. Judge Bauer is currently in Branch 4, and he's retiring, so the election is on April 7th, and I hope that you'll consider voting for me for Dodge County Circuit Court Judge. Now, you may have heard of me. My husband and I have a law practice in Waupun. It's called Snow Law. We've been there since 2007, so for the past 13 years, I've primarily done bankruptcy, family law, probate, some estate planning, and other real estate and other types of things that the average citizen of Dodge County would need legal help with. So I've worked, I've spent a lot of time in that area doing those types of things, and I've really developed a specialty for helping people in crisis, in financial crisis. So they might be going through a divorce and have some financial problems, or just have financial problems in general, and I help them with their bankruptcies. So that's what I've been doing for the past 13 years. What people don't know about me in Dodge County typically is what I did before that. I've been a lawyer for 27 years. Prior to that even, I grew up in Columbus, so not too far away. And after I graduated from high school there, I went to school at the UW and got degrees in business and in law. And after that, I was selected to be a court clerk at the Court of Appeals. And so it was there that I really developed my expertise in litigation. I handled every type of case that you see in front of your circuit courts. And so I worked there for a judge for 2 years, and worked with all 4 judges, and you'll see that all 4 judges that I worked with have endorsed me on my campaign. After I left the Court of Appeals, I went to Madison and worked for a law firm there, and then I continued with my civil litigation career at that firm. And I did everything you can possibly imagine, from small claims cases all the way up to federal securities litigation in our federal courts, and everything in between. So over the course of my career, I've represented clients in 25 different counties at all 3 levels of our courts. So in addition to the Court of Appeals cases that I've worked on, I've been fortunate enough to have 2 Supreme Court cases. My first one was when I was working at the firm in Madison. I was appointed by Governor Tommy Thompson to represent the State Personnel Commission on an appeal, and we were fortunate enough to get that case to the Supreme Court, where I won that case. The second Supreme Court case that I had was while I was working in Waupun. I represented a Century farmer who had a dispute with the county about how wide the road was in front of their house. The county came and took down some trees along the side of their property, and my clients weren't happy about that. We litigated that in the circuit court. I had to appeal it to the appellate court. We lost there, and finally at the Supreme Court we ended up winning that case. So I have experience in many different courts, in many different settings, and in many, many, many different types of law. And so that gives me the qualifications and background to be the next circuit court judge. Now, what would I do if I was circuit court judge? Well, there's a few things. One is I'd apply the law as it's written. My time at the Court of Appeals made it very clear as to what the role of a circuit court judge is. My role is not to make up new laws. I have to apply the laws that are out there. The one area that's a little bit different, though, is family law, and I'm the only candidate with experience in family law. I have not only my real-world legal experience that I've acquired over the last 13 years doing family law, but I also have my personal experience. And the way that the laws are written for family law, they're giving you a bunch of factors that you have to apply and come to a fair and equitable solution, or a solution that's in the best interest of the family. And that's true of all the areas of family law, such as placement disputes, custody disputes, property division, and maintenance awards. I have not only that professional experience handling, I don't even know how many clients in our Dodge County and surrounding counties, but I also have my personal experience that I bring to the table as a mom, as a working mother, as a stepmother, and now we're in the process of adopting our niece. So I bring all of that experience to the table when I'm addressing those types of issues. The other thing that I pledge to do is be firm and fair. So fairness is a big issue. I've represented people on both sides of the equation on many types of cases. So I've represented landlords and tenants. I've represented employers and employees. Obviously husbands and wives and mothers and fathers. And so I've seen cases and how they develop from both sides of the coin. And I also have seen what the impact of cases are outside of the courtroom. And I think that's important for a judge to keep in mind as well, to know what's happened, what the outcome and how that is going to affect that family or that employer. Excuse me. 2 initiatives that I would like to do is I'd like to see the development of a veterans court. We used to have a veterans court in Dodge County. We no longer do. During the course of my career, I've represented a lot of veterans. My husband is a veteran, my brother's a veteran, my dad's a veteran. And so we've just naturally had a lot of clients that are veterans. And I've seen that there's a need for a veterans court. PTSD continues to affect our veterans even long after they've returned from the battlefield. And so that's something that I think is important. And so I've looked into ways that we could either re-implement that in Dodge County or maybe partner with another county to be able to have a veterans court again. The second initiative that I'd like to do is take some of the knowledge that we have from our drug and alcohol treatment courts and apply that in our family court situation. So currently we do screening for domestic violence, but we don't do any screening for drug and alcohol use in our family cases. And the statistics are nationally that 1 in 10 children have at least one parent with an alcohol problem. Now that is national. I suspect that number is larger in Wisconsin. I suspect that number is, well, I know that number is larger because it doesn't include drugs. And I suspect that our families that are going through the family law process, that number is even larger because those are families in crisis. So I think it's important for us to identify those problems and come up with common sense solutions to try and get those parents that do have problems into treatment. And I think the courts have ways that they can do that. One way is by using a device called it's a sobriety monitor that you can use during placement periods. It's kind of like a breathalyzer to monitor and make sure that parents are not drinking while they have placement with their children. So that's one idea, and I've got some other ideas that I'd like to implement as well. And I'd be talking to the Family Law Bar, and obviously I have good relationships with them because I've been working in that area for so long. So those are a couple of the ideas that I would like to do. I appreciate the opportunity to come here today. The election is April 7th. I hope that you'll consider voting for me once you have a chance to look at my information. We're starting to get signs up all over Dodge County, including right here in Horicon. So if you have any interest in getting a yard sign, you can contact me at my website or call me on the phone, and my number's on the sheet as well. So thank you very much for the opportunity to come here today.
Thank you. Any questions? Good luck.
All right, thank you very much.
Are there any other public appearances? Is there a motion to approve the council minutes of January 28th, 2020 as presented?
So moved. Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye, and opposed nay. Clerk will call the roll.
Jim Bansma.
Aye.
Forrest Fromme.
Aye.
Don Miller.
Aye.
Buzz Vanderhyde.
Aye.
Susan Haiti.
Aye.
Dick Marshke.
Motion carries to order. Personnel and Finance Committee report, Susan.
Hi, we had our meeting, I must have the wrong date on here. Hold on.
January 17th.
17th, oh yeah, it is right. Thought it was wrong. January 17th at 6 o'clock p.m. All the members were present. There were no, public appearances. We voted for the minutes to be accepted. We made a motion to approve the disposal of records from the police department. Those were approved. We also approved the municipal advisor client disclosure for water system revenue bonds, series 2020A in the amount of $25,800. That was also approved and carried. Motion to approve the emergency medical service agreement with the village of Kikoski in the amount of $1,200. 2 voted aye, 1 voted nay. Motion was carried. We also made a motion to approve the discontinuing the practice of assessing and taxing the personal property located at the individual sites at the Playful Goose Campground. That also was voted aye. The bills were approved for January 2020 in the amount of $4,576,773.47. That was also approved. Personal and finance meeting is to meet again on March 16th, which is a Monday at 6 o'clock here in the council chambers. Non-action discussion. Forrest Fromme would like to see more on the city website. We adjourned at 6:31 p.m.
Thank you, Susan. Any questions? One. What date was this?
February 17th.
Yes, February 17th. Thank you. Typo.
Public Works and Development Committee report, Don?
Public Works held their meeting on February 13th. It was called to order at 6 p.m. Members present was Miller and Bansma, absent was Vanderhei. There was a motion to approve the minutes for January 9th. Motion carried. No public appearances. Josh Miller gave an update on his mowing service for the city, and he will be giving us more information next month. In Blue Zone, discussion was held on the placement of the pedestrian counters. We are looking at Lake and Cedar Streets, the Railroad Bridge, and Hubbard and Mill Streets. Question was raised on how to get more information out to the public on the safe route to schools. Flyer on the Blue Zone projects in the city were handed out, and there was an open house on the 19th at Marshfield Medical Center in Beaver Dam from 5 to 7. DPW updates, the trench to the Virgin Water off of Highway 33 curve is working well. Snow removal and pre-treating is ongoing as needed. They've issued some sidewalk shoveling violations. Continue to work with John Deere on the Lake Street project. Continue to work on annual street maintenance bidding, and are looking for a March for bids. The grinding of compost has been completed, and the 2020 budget equipment procurements are now underway. Water wastewater, there was a failure in chlorination equipment at well 5, and this is being addressed. There was a main break on Grand Street, and this also was addressed. Evaluating relocation of the telecommunication equipment on the water tower on Fitton Street. This is ongoing. Bids on Highway 33 manhole repairs is on track for February 21st. They're continuing to troubleshoot the grit handling system. It is not working properly to remove the grit from the system. Discussion was held on the purchase of a new DPW plow truck. There was a motion and a second to approve the purchase of said truck not to exceed $94,000. Motion carried. Discussion was held on the purchase of the dishwasher for the wastewater lab. Motion and a second to approve the purchase of the dishwasher not to exceed the amount of $11,920. This motion also carried. Non-discussion, there was none. We set our next meeting date for March 12th at 6 p.m. at the DPW office. There was a motion and a second to adjourn, and we adjourned at 7:34 PM.
Thank you, Don. Any questions? Public Safety Committee report. Rick?
There was no, the planning commission report? Oh, sorry.
Public safety.
Yeah.
I'm going too fast.
Can I go?
Wrong cue.
I'm
Uh,
totally out of it today.
Public Safety Committee met February 12th at 6 p.m. Members present were Marshke, Bansma, and Vanderhei. Motion by Marshke, second by Bansma to approve January 14, 2020 minutes. Motion carried. There was no public appearances. Police have a new speed display for monitoring traffic speed, tracking speed, and storing data. The pedestrian safety group is happy with that suggestion. On school campus safety, they're looking at where the crosswalks would be for the crossing guards, looking at school officer being present at the school. The school and Horicon are talking about financing. Under non-action discussion, Chief Adamson is looking at a proposal to Dodge County Crime Prevention Board about getting cameras at Vine and Lake Street intersection in the amount of $5,000. Next meeting, in my minutes, the date's wrong, is Tuesday, March 10th, 2020 at 6 p.m. at the Public Safety Building. Motion to adjourn by Marshke, second by Bansma. Motion carried, meeting adjourned at 6:50.
Thank you, Don. Any questions?
You guys are killing the minutes this month.
Plan Commission report, Susan.
There was no meeting for February, thank you.
Park and Recreation Board report. Forrest.
No meeting was held. We got the next scheduled meeting on March 11th at 6 p.m. here at City Hall.
Historic Preservation Day.
No meeting.
Just for reference, do you want me to remove this item from the council agenda, as I can't really readily remember the last time they held a meeting?
I think half the membership is sitting there at the committee. Right?
What? I'm sorry?
I think you're 50% of the committee that's left.
That's it. There's
yes.
nobody else. I can't find anybody else.
Okay, I'm just gonna.
Not without laughing trying though.
If you guys are all okay with it, I would
Yeah.
just stop including it on the council agenda.
Fair enough.
All right,
Consensus.
consensus.
Review pre-sale report for City of Horicon. 1,165,000 water system revenue from funding bonds. Series 2020A.
I'm going to refer to the expert from Ehlers to present this information, so I will defer to Dave Ferris.
Well, thanks. You know, usually when people go to meetings for Ehlers, usually Phil's the only person that gets that kind of an introduction, so I feel pretty good. I'll tell him about that. So thank you very much for letting me come here and present your pre-sale report. How we got here tonight is we go through your debt annually, actually more than that now because the rates have been so good, to see if there's candidates for refunding, and there's actually a blurb in, like on one of the pages in here that says that we do that. And we found a very good candidate in the 2010 water revenue bonds. And so I'll go a little bit more into that in detail when we get back to the page where it kind of shows where those savings are. So this pre-sale report actually memorializes some of the thoughts and process that goes into getting to the point where you're in a position to authorize the sale of these bonds. So if you turn to page 1, these are the water system revenue bonds 2020A. The amount that will go to the sale day is $1,165,000. The purpose of the bonds is to reduce the debt service expense for the water utility by about $180,000 over the next 9 years. If you present value that back in today's dollars, is about $93,000 or about 7% of the refunded principal. What we look at when we're looking for refunding opportunities is something that's 3%. So this is actually a really a really good savings for the water utility. A little further down the page, under term and call, we've included a call date, which is the date you can prepay some of the maturities, which on May 1st of 2026, if it makes good financial sense, you can call the maturities for 2027 through 2029. However, based on the rates we've been seeing, a lot of the rates that are going to be down at the call date are probably going to be so good that you'll probably never call these. The only reason that you'd pay these early is if maybe you had cash on hand. We'll see how the sales go, but the one that I saw today, the rates were like 2% out at the call date. So they're kind of unbelievable at this point. As far as rating, we've not rated the water utility. The city is rated an A1, and typically the utility is a notch below that. And in the rating world, an A2 for Moody's would be the same as being non-rated. So to pay money to find out that you're the same as somebody that's non-rated doesn't make a lot of sense. So it's a cost-saving measure not to get rated in this because it wouldn't improve it. On the next page, method of sale, we'll be doing this as a competitive bid. That gives local, regional, and national underwriters a chance to bid on your bonds. We did have somebody that had 9 bids today. There's a lot of appetite for bonds notes today because of first it was the trade wars, and now we've got the coronavirus, and that has drove a lot of money into safer investments, which municipal bonds are. Also, your history on how many people bid on your bonds. Back in 2016, you had 5 bidders, which is still pretty good. We want to see at least 3. So hopefully we'll have a good showing again this year. On the top of page 3, now this, the way that we're handling this sale is a little different than you've probably seen in the past because your clerk treasurer is going to be gone for that meeting, and there's a lot of signatures that have to be done right then. Do you want to talk about it?
No, I'm just saying sorry because they're all probably giving me dirty looks that I'm not going to be around for that day.
So the way that we're going to handle the sale that day is called a parameter sale. And so we typically set up parameters for the bid anyways, but on those days that we sell the bonds, typically what we do is we come back and tell you how it went. Well, in a parameter sale, as long as the bids come within these items that are at the top of the page, whoever's the lowest true interest cost is the one that's awarded, which is what you've typically done anyways. So what we're going to ask you to do in the resolution that's before you tonight, when we get to that point, is to authorize either the mayor and or Kristen to sign off on that sale result. So that you would, instead of you voting on it the night of the sale, typically, you would be authorizing them to sign off on it. So you'd be basically giving your approval and hoping that they were making a good sound decision because hopefully they're following what we tell them. So that's what's a little different about this one. Let's see, on page 4, I'll just touch on this. It shouldn't be really a big deal. The only risk factors are if for some reason the water utility didn't have the cash flow to pay its debt issue, its annual principal and interest, you would have to potentially levy a tax for that. With the way that the PSC monitors what your rates are, probably that's never going to happen, but we have to point that out at least. Bottom of that page is the other service providers. Quarles and Brady is your bond counsel. The only reason that you would have a paying agent, which would be Bond Trust Services, is if they term the bonds up, which means that they take a couple of maturities and lump them together to make them more of an appetite for investors. So it actually ends up giving them a little better interest return if they group a couple things together. So that adds a little bit of complexity for the person in that job, and if you have any turnover, you have the opportunity of maybe missing doing some call notices that have to be done, and that can affect your bond rating in the future. So typically when you get an underwriter that does term bonds, you want to have somebody actually watching out for you so that doesn't get lost. So if they don't term them up, then the city would be the paying agent on the issue. Page 5 is the sale calendar. So today we're here to present the pre-sale report. We will, after today, we will start putting together what's called the official statement. Once that's done, we'll have a phone call with city staff to go over the official statement. They'll review it first, but we'll go over it to make sure it's accurate. Once that's signed off, then the official statements will be distributed so that underwriters have a chance to take a look at your information, see if they want to bid on it or how they want to bid on it. The sale would then be on March 19th, and as I said, we'll take the bids that day, and then we'll notify the mayor and Kristen of the results, and then however you approve the resolution tonight is who would be authorized to sign off on it. We'll still prepare a sale day report, and that'll be available for you for your next council meeting after the sale. And then on April 9th is the day that the money gets wired to you so that it's on hand for the calling of the bonds on May 1st. So there's just a couple schedules that I'll go through on here. They aren't page numbered, which I don't really know why that is, but I apologize. The first page with a bunch of numbers on it shows how much is due for principal in total and the interest due on that on May 1st. That's how much we are going to be paying off with this issue of the new bonds. You had about $163,000 of money that's available to apply and downsize the issue. Then with water bonds, there's typically a debt service reserve that has to be in place because the payments on these bonds will be lower than what you had in the past. The amount that's required to be on hand is only $116,000. So the amount that was on hand before can be applied, and that will also result in downsizing this issue. Then the issuance costs that go into it are mostly estimates at this time. The underwriter doesn't always take the 12.5 cents per thousand, which is pretty typical, that they'll take less than that. Bond counsel will give you a letter on how much that is. And the other thing that happens in this market is the underwriter is trying to make the bonds more investing, make the investors more interested in it, and they'll actually give the city more cash up front called a premium. And what we'll do with that is downsize the issue further so that you'll even have less principal that will have an interest calculated on it. That's pretty common with the market right now. So right now going into the sale, it's $1,165,000. I think you have a really good shot of that coming down based on lower cost and then that premium that might come out from that. So the next page is a comparison of the old bond to what the new bond would be. The old bond is $1,315,000 right now. You can see in the total P&I how much the total principal and interest are. We're using the $163,000, which is existing debt service funds on hand by the city, not a village. Apologize for that too. And then you see the new principal and interest, and you can see the savings in the yellow. You're saving about $20,000 per year, which helps the cash flow of the water utility. And then I just included a graph on the next page of what the interest rates have been doing. We got an email from one of our bond guys just today, and he said they're even lower today. So hopefully things keep staying low for you guys, and you can get a better sale than what we have in this report. So thank you for letting me present this. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those now.
Thank you, Dave.
Yep.
Is there a motion to act on resolution 2020-02?
So moved.
Second. We have a motion and second. Any discussion?
That motion would include it, the power we're giving you would be operated within the parameters outlined.
It's in the 31-page document of the resolution, yes.
Okay.
She made sure it was there.
I didn't tape it.
Nothing further.
Any further discussion?
Light reading in case you can't fall asleep this evening.
If not, all in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Clerk will call the roll.
Don Miller.
Aye.
Buzz Vanderhyde.
Aye.
Susan Haydee.
Aye.
Dick Marshke.
Aye.
Jim Bansma.
Aye.
Forrest Fromme.
Aye.
Motion carries, so ordered. Agenda item 15, act on disposal
Thank you.
Thank
of
you.
public records for the police department. Susan.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the disposal of records for the police department.
I'll second. Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Clerk will call the roll.
This is a motion to authorize disposal of public records for the police department as outlined in memo dated January 15th, 2020. Susan Hady.
Aye.
Dick Marshke.
Aye.
Jim Bansma.
Aye.
Forrest Fromme.
Aye.
Don Miller.
Aye.
Buzz Vanderhyde.
Motion carries to order. Agenda item 16, act on municipal advisory service relating to water system revenue refunding bonds, series 2020A. Susan.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the municipal advisory line disclosure for the water system revenue bonds, series 2020A, in the amount of $25,800.
The motion, is there a second? Second. Motion and a second. Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye, opposed nay. Clerk, call the roll.
Susan Hady.
Aye.
Dick Marshke.
Aye.
Jim Bansma.
Aye.
Forrest Fromme.
Aye.
Don Miller.
Aye.
Buzz Vanderhyde.
Motion carries to order. Act on emergency medical service agreement for the village of Petoskey. Susan.
I would like to make a motion to approve the emergency medical service agreement with the village of Petoskey in the amount of $1,200 a month.
The motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion. I'm not in favor of this, as you were told in the Personnel and Finance Committee, we're looking at, all the EMS coverage. We've got, many of them since 2002 have not been updated. We reduced it down, we thought, discuss that with, the EMS. It's a short term, give us 6 months to review what other people are charging and taking a look at our area, and then would come back to the council for long-term contract. We've got mutual aid for the fire department, and I think to continue charging $1,200 a month is a bit on a gouge for the EMS. So I'm not in favor of this motion.
Why wouldn't this come before Public Safety Committee at all either? EMS is under the Public Safety.
It did go through personnel and finance.
But why we weren't even informed?
Have you been in the past for previous
Well,
ones?
but we have not even seen any EMS, director or anything at our meeting.
That would be something you should take up with them.
I'm just making.
So moved. I will make a note of that. I'll talk to Carol about attending your meetings.
Or sending a representative if
Yeah,
you can't attend.
or a representative.
Jim, when did we start, giving them, services?
Oh, it's been over a year.
It's been over a year?
Yeah. We started at one rate, and then every time that we enter into a new contract, there is a rate increase. This $1,200 is the same amount that we have in the current 6-month contract with them.
So
That rate was set, we were accused of being undercutting another municipality, and so we raised it up to, so that there was no way we were undercutting price to get that service.
I was just asking, who sets the fee? We did?
We did. Previous council meetings,
Okay.
we did that, all on a short term, 3 months. This is a 6-month, so we figured it would take some time to check with other municipalities on what they're charging and look at, like I said, when we started digging into this, we found it large, the areas, contract goes back to 2002, never been updated since.
Are we looking at long-term then?
We
Or just
potentially would be.
potentially?
Right now, we're looking at reviewing all the current contracts because a number of the municipalities aren't being charged a fee.
Yeah.
That's going to be changing in the future, quite honestly, whether that's gonna be late 2020 or at the beginning of 2021. People that we provide EMS service for, they're gonna have to be paying a fee
Yeah.
to cover costs.
Dodge County had a study done, all the EMS, in Dodge County. Rural areas are in a hurt for, volunteers. And, so we've been meeting, there's another meeting, scheduled on March of 9th. EMS coordinators or representatives trying to, work as a group in Dodge County.
So this contract reads just like the last one, it's a month by month, not to extend past 6 months. But at any time, they could cancel it and elect to go somewhere else.
Further discussion?
Well, since we're talking about it, you recommended the $834 a month, correct?
Yes.
Is that what you were thinking? The reason why we came out with more was we were thinking this was supposed to be a temporary thing, and it's just continuing to go. And we thought 800 was a little bit too slight. I was kinda shooting for 1,000.
Based on what?
Well, when we had discussed it in personal finance, all we had was just the number, and, we just thought that this was just gonna be a temporary thing. That's what we were all talking, are the needs getting met here first, are the needs getting met there first, are we getting mutual aid from other places because we're not able to service our own people? So, we
No,
thought,
in
as
all
a
the
committee, we thought it
discussions-
should be a little bit more since this was supposed to be only
We
temporary.
made sure, the, EMS, personnel have had an input on this, and like, Kristen said, the reason we lowered it down, we've got, contracts that we're not charging anybody any fee, and so we felt before we continue charging Kikoski that rate and not charging others any, we thought we would review everything, and so we're more on a level playing field rather than some paying a lot and others paying none.
And that's why you're looking at in the near future to go back and
Yes.
start looking. Right.
But as far as the short term, no, Kikoski, requested that we have a long term, and we thought right now, until we review everything, that it would still be best for, Horicon to short term until we review all the EMS contracts.
So we could revisit that too, if you're concerned about the 1,200, if you wanted to
Well,
revisit.
it's part of the I mean, we're reviewing the contracts with
So it'll
everybody.
be all of,
So it'll be
over
everyone
again.
that we have.
Okay, all right. Thanks, John.
So, question, we'll have a contract if we vote negatively?
We have a contract till the end of March. Further discussion?
Majority to pass, there's no kind of special voting requirement in order to pass them. Unless the mayor vetoes it.
And he's just sitting there.
So we have a motion and a second, EMS coverage for the village of Kikoski. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Opposed, nay. Clerk will call the roll.
Susan Haiti.
Aye.
Dick Marshke.
Aye.
Jim Bansma.
Aye.
Forrest Fromme.
Aye.
Don Miller.
No.
Buzz Vanderhyde.
Hey,
Well, guess what it is? It's a tie.
And the mayor says nay. Is there any other motion?
I'll make a motion to, provide EMS service to Village of Kikoski for, say, 823.
You can just say 8:30, 8:40, whatever.
Yeah.
We'll make it work.
Yeah.
Which one do you wanna go with? 8:40?
840.
Same term, like,
Yes.
We have a motion for, and we have a second. Discussion.
a length on it, just for a month?
Month to month, up to 6
Up
months.
to six, a maximum of 6 months. And hopefully before the 6 months, we'll be back here and review all EMS contracts.
You will, cause it's on my desk and I don't like it on my desk.
You don't like the file?
No, I don't.
And we will try to have a rep at your meetings in the future, especially since we're reviewing everything.
Good idea.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye, opposed nay. Clerk will call the roll.
Jim Bansma?
Aye.
Forrest Fromme?
Aye.
Don Miller?
No.
Buzz Vanderhyde?
Aye.
Susan Hazy?
Aye.
Dick Marshke?
Aye.
Motion carries so ordered. Agenda item 18.
I'll make a motion to, approve the discontinuing the practice of assessing, taxing the personal property located at the individual sites at the Playful Goose Campground.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
So are we gonna lose this revenue, or are we just gonna tax it?
You're not really getting the revenue.
Well, I realize that, I read this, but.
Right.
I mean, I know the campground where we are, we pay that. But if everybody just decides to do it, then we say, oh well.
So what this motion would be to discontinue doing that up at the Playful Goose. So per the memo, you did see that, you know, the city's portion for 2020 would have been a collection of $601. That's if everybody paid.
Yeah.
Now, personal property tax works a little differently, so when people don't pay their property taxes for personal property, the city makes the overlying entities whole. So the city's the only one that's not collecting, meanwhile, we're distributing that payment like we received it to the overlying entities, which, so this year alone.
Yeah, we came to
Yeah, $540, so, I mean, this year alone, all things equal, you're looking at $60. Not to mention, I'm gonna be sending out letters and trying to collect, and we've received numerous complaints, cause ultimately what we're really having a hard time doing is getting good records on a Playful Goose, to be able to understand as of January 1 who owned that property. And new legislation has been passed that ultimately, if they would ever tell our assessor, you're not allowed to drive through our campground and look at those individual sites, we can't get on there. So.
I'm just curious.
Right, I mean, it's foregoing revenue, but not really. Oh my gosh, it honestly, you guys, it's a headache every single year, and every year it gets worse.
I can believe that, I was just kinda curious.
And not a lot of I mean, there are some campgrounds that do it, but not every municipality chooses to do that within campgrounds.
Look like it's costing more to implement it than.
Oh my gosh. And
But you have a better campground at yours.
well, right, and I know when the council decided to do this, it was a controversial item at that time, amongst the council, and I know Dave Paswald was not in favor of it either at that time. So it's just, the collection on it's just become a bit of a nightmare.
Yeah, I get that.
Further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye, opposed nay. Clerk will call the roll.
This would be a motion to approve the discontinuation of assessing and taxing personal property located on individual sites within the Playful Goose Campground, effective with the 2020 tax roll, which would be this year. Susan Hazy?
Aye.
Dick Marshke?
Aye.
Jim Bansma?
Aye.
Forrest Fromme?
Aye.
Don Miller?
Aye.
Buzz Vanderhyde?
Aye.
Motion carries so ordered.
Thank you all, from me.
Agenda item 19. Act on authorization for Horicon Chamber of Commerce to apply for 2020 Bird City recognition.
So included in your packet is some kind of fuzzy slides. Weren't able to get a much clearer picture, but ultimately the Chamber of Commerce, a few years ago, changed so that the chamber actually makes the application. But they still need a signature from the city applying for this status. So basically they just write to us asking if it's okay for them to apply, in which case you guys approve it, assumedly approve it, and then the mayor will sign off on it, and then kind of just as a lead up into the next one so you don't have to listen to me talk again. year, depending upon which secretary is in charge of it at the chamber level. Sometimes we reimburse the chamber $125, sometimes we pay the, I don't have a.
For people.
Yep, that's what I was gonna say, I was really struggling for some better name. Sometimes we pay them directly the $125, but ultimately we're reimbursing the $125 application payment.
This is the paperwork.
Yeah, I know,
Okay.
I know. I know. But the application page is clear. That's it, that's all I have.
Have you been Bird City
Quite a few years.
quite a few years?
And I'm very gracious that they take on the application, because I wouldn't wanna be doing the application.
Is there a motion?
I'll make it.
We have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion second, any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye, opposed nay, clerk will call the roll.
Buzz Vanderhyde.
Aye.
Susan Hazy.
Aye.
Dick Marshke.
Aye.
Jim Bansma.
Aye.
Forrest Fromme.
Aye.
Don Miller.
Aye. Motion carries so ordered. Agenda item 20, act on reimbursement of 2020 Bird City recognition application fee to the Horicon Chamber of Commerce. And that would be a $125 fee.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye, opposed nay, clerk will call the roll.
Forrest Fromme.
Aye.
Don Miller.
Aye.
Buzz Vanderhyde.
Aye.
Susan Hazy.
Aye.
Dick Marshke.
Aye.
Jim Bansma.
Aye.
Motion carries so ordered.
You got to sign.
You know, we have a really pretty picture. I don't know if we get a little plaque.
Look, we've got signs.
Signs out there.
Yeah, there's things on.
You want me to get one so you can take a picture?
Agenda item 21, act on request for use of Riverbend Park by the Horicon Historical Society. Forrest.
The request is coming from Horicon Historical Society to use Riverbend Park from May 4th to May 11th. Support their Horicon Living History Days event. There'll be, reenactors and demonstrators arriving as early as Monday, May 4th. The main event happening Thursday, Friday, Saturday,
8, 9, 10.
and Sunday, and the reenactors will be clearing the park as of May 11th, that Monday.
Are they staying on site too?
Yeah, they'll be staying on site like they have in the previous years.
Okay.
It's you should have it outlined in your packet. The information's all there for this part of it.
We have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Second?
Oh, wow. I gave it to Dick.
We have a motion and a second, any discussion? Lonnie, you gonna have warm weather, no rain this year?
I hope so. Oh.
All those in favor signify by saying aye, opposed nay, clerk will call the roll.
As I understand, this is a motion to approve the Horicon Historical Society's request for use of Riverbend Park, May 8th through the 10th, 2020, including overnight accommodations, May 4th through the 11th, 2020, for reenactors and demonstrators, to include use of electricity for 2020 Living History Days.
That's what I recall.
That's what I thought I saw when I climbed in there. Forrest Fromme.
Aye.
Don Miller.
Aye.
Buzz Vanderhyde.
Aye.
Susan Hazy.
Aye.
Dick Marshke.
Aye.
Jim Bansma.
Aye.
Motion carries so ordered. Agenda item 22, Forrest.
Alright, during the event, their historical society is also requesting, permission to discharge, black powder guns with blank charges for demonstration purposes, mock battle demonstrations for the public, and, request to allow tomahawk throwing demonstrations as well this year. There's an archery piece too as well.
Well, in the past, we have done tomahawk throwing demonstrations with the chief's approval. And it was brought up to us last year that there was a group that does throwing demonstrations at the Marsh Center on Highway 28. and they're interested in also participating in our event. And then it was asked if we could possibly entertain, archery as well, archery demonstrations as well. Provided, obviously, we would follow any kind of guidelines set forth by the city and by the police department.
The current requests have already been reviewed and approved by Chief Adamson.
Yeah, that's my motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye, opposed nay, clerk will call the roll.
As I understand, this is a motion to allow reenactors to carry weapons and periodically discharge them in Riverbend Park, May 8th through the 10th, 2020, as part of the reenactment during Living History Days. Forrest Fromme.
Aye.
Don Miller.
Aye.
Buzz Vanderhyde.
Aye.
Susan Hazy.
Aye.
Dick Marshke.
Aye.
Jim Bansma.
Aye. Motion carries, so ordered. Agenda item 23, Aquatic Center. Forrest.
Okay.
Good luck. I'm
don't
not
see-
climbing into your head for this one, so good luck.
I don't see, Jacob here, so. There were a couple different options that were presented, and the one that, was making sense, I'm trying to figure out which one of these it was, cause he provided multiple quotes.
Give me a hint, which one you looking for?
It was open till 7 in June and August, and 8 in July, removing Adult Swim. So, yeah, that's not it. You know what, I don't think he included the right one.
I don't see one where it notes like 7 PM for some months and 8 for the others.
I think I gotta take this back.
Okay.
So I thought I saw it in there, I think I was reading through it too quick, because he didn't put anything in here as far as being open till 8 on July, and I know that was gonna be a different rate. I thought that's why it took him forever to get it to us. The idea there is just based on the attendance to close the aquatic center at 7 during the months of June and August. And with the low attendance of Adult Swim, leaving it open for that hour to keep people into the pool. And so essentially, even though we're losing that hour, we're actually gaining it through the Adult Swim being, discontinued.
I'm sorry, was that July you wanted to be open till 8?
Yes. We also had, requested to be in here was using the pool during June for a evening swim lesson session as well. It's been requested for a lot of parents that since they're not home until after 5, they can't get to the morning sessions with their children for the swim lessons. So I'll touch base with him and see if he can get me an updated contract, so we'll bring it back to March, council.
Okay. I can deal with that. Can you?
Yes, and,
Yeah, Forrest already knows how I feel about the 3%.
okay.
Okay.
About in the summer, there's just not always ample time to be able to turn around and issue a check in 7 days,
Yeah, yeah.
so.
Yep, and yeah, we'll iron that out with them.
Okay. So we review it, March meeting?
Yep, but just, they weren't gonna be looking at any price changes for admission for this year from last year. There are a couple discounts that we're gonna propose and some other things, but I'll get that all put together in an updated proposal from him.
Okay.
Question. What's the contract signing fee for $1,500?
They instituted that a few years ago. Basically,
So there's a previous person on the park board committee, Jay?
Wasn't on there when I was on there.
I don't know if it was always in the contract, but yeah, we've been paying that fee for a few years. And basically it was for the wise work in putting all of this stuff together, because typically these contracts are signed October, November, because you're deciding
Budgets.
at budget time. So ultimately, this has typically been done for months already.
And I think that was on even when I was on there.
Yeah, time is a way of getting away from me, so I'd like to say it's only been maybe the last 5 years, but.
It could be longer.
Right, it was instituted
'Cause I
when Jen
remember-
Cruel was here, and Jen's probably been gone a few years now.
And I remember the number 1,500.
Right, I didn't like it either. That's why I remember.
But they got contractual cost in here of 17,000.
Yeah.
And where,
We'll discuss it next month.
you can't have it.
Well, we can grill
Here,
the,
here, now, still gonna discuss it.
if you approve, Jen on the, park board,
Oof.
then you can grill her
I will.
at her
Should've
next
saved it
meeting.
all.
March 11th. Come on down.
So,
Okay.
What's your
Come on down.
Her fee,
What's your fee?
for what, grilling?
What kind of?
free pass.
What is the monthly fee you get?
Alright.
Further discussion, for Forrest, before he gets back and
No, I'm good.
YMCA? Agenda item 24, Don.
In our monthly meeting, we discussed the purchase of a new plow truck for the DPW. Todd and Rich went and reviewed these vehicles in different departments, and they decided that the best vehicle for our money would be, the Mack Granite 42 BR MHD truck chassis from Curie Truck Supply. And I will make a motion that we approve this purchase not to exceed the cost of $93,695.
Second.
I'm sorry, hold on, I write really slow. 93, what?
$695.
95. And Forrest, you grabbed that as a second?
I did.
We have a motion and a second, any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye, opposed nay. Clerk will call the roll.
Don Miller,
Aye.
Buzz Vanderhyde.
Aye.
Susan Hazy.
Aye.
Dick Marshke.
Aye.
Jim Bansma.
Aye.
Forrest Fromme.
Aye.
Motion carries, so ordered. Agenda item 25, Don?
I will make a motion to approve the purchase of the aftermarket equipment and installation fees to include the new hydraulics, the reuse of the swap loader assembly, new brine system, front mount plows with the accessories from Casper Truck Equipment at the cost not to exceed $130,434.
Second.
Go, Jim.
Is that over budget?
Yes, both the truck and this are over budget.
Oh, 12.
But the total, the 130,000 includes the
It's all over.
12.7 over.
Right, the chassis by itself was over and this is over as well.
Okay. Motion includes that amount over.
Yeah, cause you have the, yes.
Okay. Let me, I want to come up short-handed.
We have a motion and a second, any discussion? How soon?
One of the things that we're trying to accomplish here is get the order in, we wanna get it in right away. We will be seeing this before next season. We would have a truck that is getting a swap, fixture taken out of it, out of commission this summer because of this. But we should be seeing this in, we've been saying October, for sure. We might see it in September.
Further discussion? None, all in favor signify by saying aye, opposed nay. Clerk will call the roll.
Don Miller,
Aye.
Buzz Vanderhyde.
Aye.
Susan Hazy.
Aye.
Dick Marshke.
Aye.
Jim Bansma.
Aye.
Forrest Fromme.
Aye.
Motion carries, so ordered. Agenda item 26. Don?
This is a motion to act on the second amendment to the water, or the tower land lease for the equipment for the modification of the United States Cellular Operating Company. This equipment is presently at the Eagle Hill Water Tower.
We have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? It's been reviewed by Conkle Engineering and Tim, so.
Yeah.
All in favor signify by saying aye, opposed nay. Clerk will call the roll.
Don Miller,
Aye.
Buzz Vanderhyde.
Aye.
Susan Hazy.
Aye.
Dick Marshke.
Aye.
Jim Bansma.
Aye.
Forrest Fromme.
Aye.
Motion carries, so ordered. Recommend the appointment of Jen Krul to complete the term of Joel Glavi that expires May 1st, 2020.
I'll second.
Is there a motion to,
I'll make a motion, we approve Jen Krul for.
Then I'll
Mark.
second that. Done.
thank you, Don. We have a motion and a second, any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye, opposed nay. Clerk will call the roll.
Don Miller,
Aye.
Buzz Vanderhyde.
Aye.
Susan Hazy.
Aye.
Dick Marshke.
Aye.
Jim Bansma.
Aye.
Forrest Fromme.
Aye.
Motion carries, so ordered. Operator license, Dick?
There's two of them, I'm gonna take them both separate. I'm gonna make a motion to approve a one-year operator's license, year ending June 30th, 2020 for Catherine Edie.
Second.
A motion and a second. Discussion?
The only thing that I'm gonna say is it was denied by the chief, so.
Okay. Further discussion?
It looks like there's charges pending on this person.
Motion should be in the positive, but following the council procedures that have been adopted for Chief Adamson to use, he has recommended deny.
Just one.
All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye, opposed nay. Clerk will call the roll.
Dick Marshke.
No.
Jim Bansma.
Nay.
Forrest Fromme.
Nay.
Don Miller.
No.
Buzz Vanderhyde.
No.
Susan Hazy.
Abstain.
Motion is defeated.
I have another one, I'll make a motion to approve a two-year operator's license, year ending June 30th, 2021 for Bethany Balls.
Second.
The motion is second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye, opposed nay. Clerk will call the roll.
Dick Marshke.
Aye.
Jim Bansma.
Aye.
Forrest Fromme.
Aye.
Don Miller.
Aye.
Buzz Vanderhyde.
Aye.
Susan Hazy.
Abstain.
Motion carries, so ordered. Financial statements for January 2020. Susan?
I'll make a motion to approve the financial statement for January 2020 as printed in the packet.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye, opposed nay. Clerk will call the roll.
Susan Hazy.
Aye.
Dick Marshke.
Aye.
Jim Bansma.
Aye.
Forrest Fromme.
Aye.
Don Miller.
Aye.
Buzz Vanderhyde.
Aye. Motion carries, so ordered. Bills for January 2020. Susan?
I'll make a motion to approve the bills for January 2020 in the amount of $4,576,793.25. $773.47.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye, opposed nay, clerk will call the roll.
Susan Hazy.
Aye.
Dick Marshke.
Aye.
Jim Bansma.
Aye.
Forrest Fromme.
Aye.
John Miller.
Aye.
Buzz Vanderhyde.
Aye.
Motion carries, so ordered. Non-action discussion. Tim? Lieutenant?
Of course I do. Of course I do.
Holding in the
I know, I gotta get out my edge. Alright, so you guys are all aware of the school resource officer position that we are trying to get funded. On Valentine's Day, I got to spend the day with Kristen.
Who could ask for more?
I know, right?
You all are jealous.
It was a long process. We were working to get a grant as well as, well, let me start with the grant. Kristen and I worked about 6 hours until we got really frustrated and we called it a day. So I do unfortunately have to come back to you. I'm gonna put a little bit more into it, so I gotta find a date for her, but I don't have when we would be approved, because I got sidetracked today by DPW a little bit, of when the grant would be approved to us, but hopefully we get it. But anyways, on February 17th, I went to the school board meeting that the mayor was present at, and they approved 70-30. The school board would do the 70%, and then the city has to be talked about the other 30%. So I mean, the investment that we would have, probably that would fall on the police department and the city, would be the setup cost of the officer, and that would be like the uniform, the gun belt, the vest. That would be the investment into that officer. The vehicle that would be assigned would be the Suburban, so we're not looking for an extra patrol vehicle. We want the Suburban up there, parked in one of the front stalls, so it is publicly known that there's an officer there and there's police present at the school. Besides, the benefit that the city would also gain is, I was gonna bore you with a couple cases, but this is getting late. So I'm just gonna.
7.
Huh?
It's not even 7.
Oh my goodness, okay. So I'm gonna run down one of Todd Schultz's vehicle theft cases where we found the vehicle in Arizona. And I don't know if you guys understand the process of taking a report and everything that is included, including with the investigation. So the car was stolen on Chandler Street, we found it in Arizona. The steps that Officer Schultz has taken was, he did an excellent job. First, we have to find out who the suspect is. From finding the suspect, you have to figure out, okay, how am I gonna track this person? Where did they go? Where's the vehicle? So he contacted the bank information. The bank here in Horicon is a pleasant bank to work with because we don't have to get too many subpoenas. We don't have to get too many search warrants. Next, I think he tracked that all down with a Walgreens receipt where he got a debit card number. He got the debit card number, which he was able to track through a subpoena and a search warrant of where the card was used. And then he also was able to find a phone number. So with this phone number, he had to gather another subpoena and a search warrant to track, first get the owner's information from the subpoena, and then the search warrant is to track the phone from tower to tower to tower location. Lo and behold, the vehicle was actually found in Arizona. So what the city would actually benefit from is the school resource officer position was also assist with detective work, which would do the search warrants, which would do most of the investigation, which puts another patrol, or actually our patrol officer, days or nights back on the road, taking calls, handling traffic, and it would just free up a lot of time for the patrol officers, is what the city would get.
Basically what you're saying is you got an extra set of hands, and when they're not at the school, you can utilize them in other ways.
Oh, yeah.
Makes good sense.
Yeah, because getting a search warrant, it takes a couple days to draft it up. Goes to the DA's office, they gotta review it, it comes back, make these corrections, goes back, okay, now you can finally get to see the judge. I mean, meanwhile, you have to send a preservation letter to like the bank or to US Cellular to hold the information, because they only hold it for so long, so it's a lengthy process. I mean, Brandon's investigation took him 40 extra hours where he was supposed to be on vacation, but he gave his vacation back to work. The vehicle theft case, I mean, that was 40 extra hours of his time invested, and it's a process.
We have 2 speed bumps. One is, our budget is January to January.
Yeah.
And the schools is from September to September. So it's easy to put that in their budget for the coming school year. Where we have possible speed bump in figuring out the expenditure restraint, how that fits in if we start with the officer this year rather than next year.
And ultimately, the big hurdle with that too is no matter when you would put that additional officer into the budget, even with the school paying for a certain percentage of it, you know, in order to qualify for ERP, we have to keep our expenditures within a certain amount. Adding another employee is gonna put us over that amount, so we will not qualify, even though we have, you know, a corresponding revenue to offset part of that. They're only looking at your expenditures. So those are factors that we have to look into, cause there's always ways to shift things around.
What kind of dollar figure are we looking at?
I would say for an officer, you're looking at a solid 95 probably a year.
Okay, so 30% of that would be our responsibility, right?
Right, but ultimately you'd still be adding on that 95,000 to your expenses.
Okay. What about the fringe benefits?
That would be, that's part of the 95. And that's just a completely rough estimate.
That's what the
And in fact, let's just make it 100,000 so it's easy math.
Yeah.
So that would be the whole package.
There you go. Just easy.
Well, I have to, this is my daughter. She's actually here tonight for a class, and she's gotta give a little talking to, so I was gonna have her tell you her experience about her school resource officer, because if she doesn't talk, she gets a C. If she does talk, she gets an A. So I want her to get the A. So like what my chief does, I'm gonna throw her right.
Conflict.
All right, just gonna sit back and relax. Savannah, take it away.
So I go to Waupun Area School District at the high school, and my school resource officer is Officer Raven, and he's a great like mentor to me, and he makes me feel safe when I'm at school. He also teaches like the school and the like kids in the school like how to handle lockdowns well.
He's a good officer.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Savannah.
So I mean, that's where we're at now. I mean, there's so much information that's lacking yet, and.
Well, and right.
So
You know.
if we did it this year, that would be prorated for just the, what is it, 4 months then? Essentially, of that 100,000.
Potentially,
So it's a third.
we have to figure out what,
Of a third.
if we get the grant.
Yeah.
You know, and then if we get the grant, or is the school gonna be paying 70%, or are we gonna be expending everything because we're utilizing the grant? We have a lot of questions and not as many answers as we do questions.
And if we put them on this year, comes out of this budget, which affects our expenditure number.
It won't affect 2020 because it's already done.
Okay.
There's no
For
ERP.
2021,
There's no
we
ERP
spend more time
police.
finding that money in the budget.
Well, you're not gonna find it.
Okay, we'd be cutting,
Well, you
I don't know, whatever you
You
want
can't
this
cut
year.
$100,000 to incorporate a new person. I mean, there's not $100,000 worth of general fund budget.
Good thing you got that.
To cut up. I mean, I'm just being totally realistic here.
I know, but if we get the grant, there's just so much stuff that has to be worked out.
Right,
And
we're
it's
just creating awareness.
Yes, I'm just creating an awareness that this is what we're still working on.
Creating an awareness and selling it.
This is where I'm
I
at.
think the officer is good to,
I agree.
hopefully we'll get the grant and,
Would that be a
we
grant
can
that
work
would
out
have to
some of the
continue?
financial glitches. It would be nice to somehow,
It's a 3-year grant, and then you have to provide, assurances that you would retain that employee for the 4th year. But again, to just kind of add on.
That employee or that position?
The position.
So.
we've done this previously.
Right. And I do think there's a strong need, kind of adding what Savannah put on there. My daughter, who's since graduated, she had a very big issue occur while she was at school with something. And the police had to be involved immediately. I was very, very fortunate in that, I had my daughter leave school immediately when the situation occurred, came to me at work. And I was, again, very fortunate, Amy Yaki was on duty, and so she was able to handle that. But ultimately, there was a school resource officer. The school resource officer could have taken care of that disastrous mess, while the day shift officer, Amy Yaki, continued doing her job. So that goes to both the, kind of how a position like that, if there's somebody identified up at the school, it creates your day shift officer to be able to do other things, plus they're right at the school to deal with children.
Yeah, I think I see the value of it, I just,
Yes.
it's figuring out how we pay for it.
And there's no answers for that right now.
Yeah, that's the.
So how long do we know before that you find out if you get this grant?
About the grant, I can let you know tomorrow. I just gotta do a little bit more reading. I got sidetracked today.
No, I mean before it's okay, I mean.
I have to have it in by the 11th, March 11th, but I
Okay.
plan on submitting it by March 1st, because if I submit it early, they'll validate it, see if there's anything wrong, and send it back to me. I can do corrections, but like I
Okay.
said, I have to put a little bit more tweaks on there. I want a second pair of eyes, which is Kristen, and then I'll send it to Chief for review, and the mayor also has to sign off yet.
Okay.
So, next month, will Savannah be coming back to do like a financial presentation and help,
Yes.
to help
Yes,
with
she
funding
will.
of the position?
Probably not.
No.
How do vacations work?
Well, see, that's just it too. We've touched base with other school districts. I mean, Waupun, Ray-Ban takes all his vacation in the summer, but that is just,
More questions
I
than
don't think it's
answers.
doable because the city needs to get something out of the position as well.
We can say that this is gonna cost $100,000 and throw out what, them paying us back, but are we looking at, okay, so this, say this guy school resource officer gets hurt, no, there can't, do we pay the different officer to go up there?
Or do we backfill? I don't have an answer for that, but I know Chief and Mr. Apple were talking about that if one of us on patrol, or if somebody would happen to get FMLA going on, there's a discussion where we can pull that officer from the school to work patrol. I don't know if it's the other way around. I don't think so, because I don't know if that officer would meet the qualifications of like the schooling and training. I
Same
don't
way
have
to
the right
vacation
answer.
there.
I know the opposite way how it was gonna work, but not that way, that you're asking.
Vacation, you'd pay someone overtime to go up there and work, or you'd.
No, I don't see how they would get overtime. Cause I would like them to.
I just wanna look at the whole picture,
Yeah.
cause a lot of the stuff, when it's presented,
I know.
the stuff that, appears differently down the road than.
I know. In my perfect world, that school resource officer would be there Monday through Friday. They would adjust their hours to like football games, to basketball games that are going on right now. Adjust it that well that, there's always an officer present for those. Like Christmas vacation, when there's no school, that officer will have to use their vacation then, or holiday, while there's no school function. That's my perfect world, but.
Okay, so when's this guy gonna solve these crimes? Well, that's just stuff
Well, yeah, and I imagine, some of the stuff in investigation is gonna come from the high school as well, because I've worked, cases where the kids like to send inappropriate photos. That's a process as well. I didn't really wanna touch base on school issues, but that's a benefit for the school, that's not a benefit for the city. Our benefit for the city.
Doesn't take the stuff that you would have to do for the school dedicated to that officer?
Yep.
And I would imagine with them in that position, they would be better suited to be able to more efficiently, effectively address those and get those taken care of than trying to pull someone from the street.
Right.
Get them involved into the situation, get them up to speed, figure it out, go back.
Yep, and then they can sit there and write the search warrants for other cases and investigate those as well.
Cause they could be doing that while they're in their office at the
Blowing,
school.
yeah. Yep, typing away and, you can multitask. Hopefully.
Maybe.
Well, the only thing we heard a different presentation at Public Safety, Committee meeting was that we were told by, Chief Adamson that in his perfect world, this person worked Monday through Thursday, and they would spend Friday solving these crimes or doing this detective work.
Right, but you don't know what the schedule is gonna be up at the school. Like I said, those are all open for discussion yet. Like my perfect world, I'd like to like Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, but then you don't know when their games are at. So I mean, the schedule's gonna fluctuate. That's something Chief and Mr. Apple are gonna have to
There was
come to
also
agreement
some,
with.
there was also some talk about with the union.
Yeah, that's another thing.
Because there
Chief's-
would have to be some special considerations, the chief said.
Yep, he's gotta write a side letter and present
They'd
it
have
to the
to
union.
okay that ahead of time too.
There's a lot to be answered yet.
It's a work in process.
Yes.
It's the
I
living,
know,
breathing
I'm just-
document.
Yeah.
No, this is all good,
But-
cause it's other things these are things you know they're gonna question,
I
so
know.
be ready for them.
We're getting you ready.
You only got 6 months till the
Yeah,
next school year
come on.
starts.
Well,
You
why
got-
don't you email me
got a
your
couple more
questions?
days.
I know, right? Email me your questions and I'll get your answers for you.
Thank you for doing all that hard work.
You're welcome.
It's a police thing.
Anything else, Lieutenant?
No, not that I can think of.
And during a council meeting, you should definitely get an A. If there's any questions, have your teacher give us a call.
The mayor.
The mayor.
I could you on the way home too, I don't know.
Richard?
Culvers?
Nothing.
Forrest?
Yeah, I got nothing.
Since I'm electronically challenged, I've got a question.
This is
on
a
our-
computer.
Yeah, is that a computer? On our city webpage, do we, put down starting, times of snowstorm ends 5
No.
o'clock Saturday or something?
No.
And is it possible to do that so that the residents would actually have a time that they?
Absolutely, every department head is in charge of their own page,
Okay.
so
So
you
that
can
could
put
be a
whatever
factor.
information you would want on your page.
Okay. I'm just thinking it would maybe make it easier for our residents to know that snow event ended at 7 o'clock on the 2nd or whatever. And that way, they're responsible for getting their
You would just
sidewalks.
need them to check the website.
We didn't have
I
one.
know, but at least we have somewhere
Our
that
snow
we can
event
say,
didn't
it's
come.
out there, all you need to do
I
is
have a
check.
question.
And other than me, probably everybody knows how to use a computer.
Do all department heads know how to update their webpage information?
Yeah, they should.
Did you guys ever discuss the blowing issue though? The
Yes.
blowing?
So I was just
What
gonna
is
ask.
the outcome of that? Because when it starts blowing over their sidewalks, then we have another time sensitive issue.
I thought that was considered.
As soon as the wind stops, you have 24 hours.
I knew you had the answer for me.
You know, is wind 20 miles per hour,
I know, right?
15 miles an hour, what constitute wind?
Do you really want me to tell you?
Feet?
No, it's just a.
Good point. Anything else? Susan?
I have nothing, thank you.
Jim?
Only thing, thank you DPW guys, I know you put a lot of effort into that, purchasing that truck and the equipment, so thank you for your time and effort for that.
Nice job dodging the snowstorm.
Yeah, good job.
Yeah.
Thanks for preparing for it though.
Anything else, Jim?
Thanks for the roads.
No, that's all, thank you.
Scotty, thanks for the snow. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'd just like to congratulate the 2 young men from the high school that qualified for the state wrestling tournament this year. One is Dakota Reinwald, and I do not know the other.
Brandon Zamorano.
Yeah, that kid. Congratulations to them and best of luck.
Yeah, that kid.
Yes.
That's it.
Kristen?
Well, now I've got like 5 things just because of that. No, I just wanted to let everybody know, I will not be here, save your applause, for the March 24th council meeting. Chris has a sticky note where I assured her that if there was anything challenging for that agenda, I would encourage the council to hold their meeting a different different night so that she didn't have to worry about it.
But Tom's
She
gonna
kept
be
a
there,
sticky
isn't he?
note in her calendar. So I will not be here that evening.
Which
And
makes, department heads or anybody that wants stuff on the agenda, make sure you get it as early as possible. So the agenda goes out, so.
Is that the only day that week you're out, or are you out for a span of days?
I'm out for a span of days.
Starting, I only ask because the whole aquatic center thing, if I need to touch base with you on it, I want to do it while you're in the office.
March 24th that morning I fly out, so that Tuesday morning I fly out.
Okay.
And I'll be gone.
So I get you that
I
Monday
won't
or
be back
earlier.
until the following week.
So I need Monday or earlier.
Yeah.
Okay.
Feel free to,
Okay.
touch base with me on that.
Just to make sure I have everything lined out and Jacob's square.
Sounds good. Other than that, that's all I had. Subject to any questions.
When's your office open?
My office is open 7:30 to 4 Monday through Friday for any comments, questions, or concerns.
Good,
She's
thank
got that
you.
memorized.
And ordinance requests.
Absolutely.
On that, Lake Street project, just give you an update, right now, Deere Company, gave the approval, as far as, the factory to go ahead with the project. We're gonna have a meeting next week that, we're gonna decide if we're gonna, do Lake Street, this year or next year. It's the tunnel seems to be the infamous, question. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye, opposed nay, clerk will call the roll.
Forrest Fromme.
Aye.
Don Miller.
Aye.
Buzz Vanderhyde.
Aye.
Susan Hazy. Dick Marshke.
Aye.
Jim Bansma.
Aye.
Motion carried.